Test. I was muted this whole time. No one in the comments said anything. Nobody said nothing. And say, hey, I don't you're muted. Come on, people. Come on, people. All right, let's start this over. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Eden Wellness Alliance's State of the Association address. We're talking about cinnamon, and that's what's happening today. As far as announcements, since I wasted almost 3 minutes in silence. To refresh everybody, cinnamon is a thing that a spice that we find a lot in our food nowadays around this time of year, so it's a good time to cover it as far as the health benefits that you can find with cinnamon. And we're going to be doing that after announcements. Announcements are, let me come here and look, CRNs as normal on Tuesdays. We have the for those associated with us through with doTERRA and things like that, you can come to the doTERRA get together on the 9th and on the 10th, and it's basically more for those that are already engaged with us that way. So if you want more information on where that'll be, you can just get with us. Either me with different things here, or my mother, Jacqueline, who is also works with people closely with the doTERRA at 479-719-0952. The egg and dye is supposed to be, I don't believe it's, let me make sure. I want to make sure, I don't know that we're having the egg and I may be mistaken, but I don't think we're having the egg and I because we're having the doTERRA family event. But I may be mistaken. If I am, I will announce it later on this week or next week when I find out. But it would likely be on the 19th. Speaking of the 19th, that's when the CRN is having its yearly breakfast get together, and it's our yearly breakfast potluck get together. So we each bring a dish to the breakfast. It is at the Crawford County Adult Education Center. It's the Bright Red Roof behind Western Sizzlin'. So if you want to come to that, you can. But bring a dish, and you can bring a Dirty Santa gift as well. So we kind of play that. I believe that's everything. Of course, there's not a lot going on this month simply because it's Christmas this month, and New Year's is technically there's a 5th Sunday in this month, so there's New Year's for that. So it kind of throws everybody's schedules a little tipsy sometimes. So you guys can expect a slight decrease from the Interplanet Cross from the Eden Wellness Alliance anyway on the stuff that it's doing. But I think everything's all right. I think that's all the announcements. So let's get into the subject. All right. Dun, dun, dun. So we're going to be talking about that, and it took about 3 minutes, so we're not that far off schedule. We're going to be talking about cinnamon, and just to be clear, when we're talking about cinnamon, and the cinnamon that I'm talking about real cinnamon. I'm not talking about cassia. So there's a difference between cassia and cinnamon. If you go to the store, you usually see this right here, right? You see that that bark strip there? That picture is from cassia. Cassia can technically be marketed as cinnamon because it is from the cinnamon family. It is cinnamon. Its Latin name is Cinnamomum cassia, but it is not right proper cinnamon. You would have to get this one instead, and it looks a bit different. Okay, and it's not cinnamon, Cinnamomum cassia. It is Cinnamomum xylanicum. Okay, that's how you know They're both from the laurel family, and that's how you know that you're getting real cinnamon. The cinnamon that you get from doTERRA is cinnamon zeylanicum, which is cinnamon, not cassia. And there's a difference because they do slightly different things. Now we're not going to be going through this whole book here because it's kind of dry, not very fun for you guys to look at. So I found some infographics that talk a bit about the things that cinnamon does. So we're going to look at those because it covers some basic stuff. So the first one is going to be this one, the benefits of cinnamon. Cinnamon is a strong antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral. This is something that you'll see with pretty much all of the essential oils because that's kind of part of the function of essential oils in the plant itself, so it makes it easier for your body to use it the same way. But this is present there. I would say that antiviral and fungal properties are very strong, as well as the bacterial. It is a good disinfector, you might say. It is full of antioxidants when you consume it orally, which is a good idea. That's how we usually get it in most cases. We either smell it or consume it that way, because it is a hot oil, in my experience. If you put on cinnamon, you have to have a carrier with it or something like that. Otherwise, it gets this kind of tingly, stingy kind of feeling because of how it behaves with the body's skin and the chemicals contained therein. But it is very good and filled with antioxidants, so consuming it, whether in the bark form or through the essential oil, is going to help with that. If you're wanting to use, I will just say that if you're wanting to use cinnamon medicinally, you're definitely going to want to go with something that is the most convenient way, I will say, is with the essential oil, simply because you're going to get more bang for your buck. But using just the sticks can help, especially since it does have an aromatic effect to help reduce, not with the antioxidants, but rather with this next one with the blood pressure. And the one that you see down lower, which is boost memory, which is specifically tied to scent. But it helps the antioxidants. Those antioxidants help reduce blood pressure and lowers cholesterol. It helps support the body's natural balance of those things. And remember that if you've had, this is something that can be brought up here when we're talking about blood pressure. If you've had elevated blood pressure for a long time, if you get a sudden big drop in it, that's not necessarily healthy. You want to, if you have it and you're lowering it, you want to ease it down. You don't want to have it 30 or 40 points too high and then drop it down to normal or a little lower the very next day, because that fluctuation will not likely be maintained, and that fluctuation can sometimes throw the body into a panic on trying to understand, whoa, what's going on. But you can lower it gradually. So this day it may be super high, but you would get it down a little bit lower the next day, and then a little bit lower the next day. And just giving a few days of adjustment is all you would really have to think about. You just don't want to overstimulate the system with that kind of a change too quickly. And because cinnamon functions appropriately with your body's ability to adjust blood pressure, then it's more likely to help in a way that's going to be sustainable. And that's part of how it helps. It lowers the cholesterol. Another thing that cinnamon does is it improves digestion, and that's a big deal. It is very good at that. Ginger is slightly more potent, but some people don't like ginger or can't tolerate ginger, so cinnamon would be a fair alternative for people. It helps balance the blood sugar levels, which is very helpful for those diabetics out there that their pancreas is working overtime and having to do all that stuff and take care of those things. So using some cinnamon, drinking some cinnamon in your tea, cinnamon stick in your tea is sometimes enough. But I would suggest things like consumption of cinnamon on a more regular basis if you're trying to get your body to balance back out its blood sugar levels. And pairing it with other things like the grapefruit oil, not the grapefruit juice, but the grapefruit oil. Grapefruit oil helps support the body's ability to adjust its blood sugar levels as well. It helps build strong bones, and that's because of down low, it talks about having magnesium, fiber, iron, and calcium. And something to remember when you're getting these vitamins and minerals from specific sources, like from, I will say, natural sources as a loose term. When you're getting them organically from what you're eating and stuff like that, it makes a massive difference on how your body processes it, in conversely to how it processes just macro doses of the same minerals and vitamins. If you pump in a bunch of magnesium, fiber, iron, and calcium through macro supplements like thousands of this at a dose and stuff like that, then you're not really helping your body. Your body's having to use other minerals to try and adjust those things out, and then those minerals are going to be deficient, and then your body's going to have to rob and synthesize for those. It just doesn't work out nearly as well as if you are consuming it in a diet, if you are dietarily consuming those vitamins and minerals. And thankfully, you can do that with cinnamon. We already mentioned about it boosting health, boosting memory. It's also anti-inflammatory, quite powerfully so. So if you're having problems with inflammation, topical use is okay if paired with other things. Cinnamon is one of those oils that I would consider a bit better used scent-wise and orally, internal-wise. So internal and aromatic use is more preferred for me, in my opinion, and in my experience with cinnamon and with people using cinnamon, because of how it works out for people. Though if you have cold hands and things like that, putting cinnamon in one of your rubs that you put on might be helpful. Cold hand, cold feet, or your body gets cold, or you have poor circulation in your extremities. Pairing it with other things that help support circulation in the extremities can be beneficial, because that warmth there is going to need to be carried around, and your body might be able to use that and build stronger capillaries in those areas. Let's go to the next one. It's slightly different, but we're going to touch on it anyway. I just wanted to have a couple here in case one talked about something that the other didn't, and this one does. So, 10 surprising health benefits of cinnamon. This one's from positivedrugs.com if you want to go to their site. I got this one from a search, not from that specific site, so it's up to you guys. It regulates helps the body regulate its blood sugar, so there you go. Reduces LDL cholesterol levels, which is important. It points out more specifically the LDL cholesterol levels versus HDL. One's good, one's bad. Or one's considered good and one's considered bad. They both need to be in balance. You have to have both. So it reduces those levels if they're high. It's effective against ulcer-causing H. pylori bacteria. So when you have bacteria causing those ulcers in your gut, you can use some cinnamon. And this is, a lot of people don't realize that things that are hot don't always hurt your ulcers when it comes down to how they affect them. Like the cinnamon is going to help the body's natural support of healing those ulcerated portions of the system. So if your gut has those ulcerated portions in there caused by H. pylori, then you can definitely find some benefit from incorporating cinnamon. Again, internally is where I would go with this one. And just as you're mixing it with other things when you're putting it on the skin, I would mix it with something else. Not necessarily another oil, though that would be a good idea. Something like something like Digest Zen, and then a little bit extra cinnamon with it can be very helpful for supporting the gut and its health. It reduces pain linked to arthritis. That's because it helps topically, it stimulates those nerve endings. That sensation stimulates those nerve endings. So if you use it topically, it can be soothing for that area with a warmth. May reduce proliferation of cancer cells. This has a lot to do with proper DNA function and cinnamon promoting the proper DNA function. Now, I wouldn't say that it's something to bring up is that a lot of oils, if not all oils, are going to promote proper DNA function. Just some are a bit better at it. And this one probably is helpful. I'd probably call it mid to upper mid range of helpfulness with those cancer cells, upper mid range. So it's up to everyone else on that one. It can function as a natural food preservative for not like super long time, but for holding things a few years might be helpful for them. And especially if you like cinnamon apples, or can some apples and put a cinnamon stick in there, it can be quite helpful. Or you don't even have to have the whole stick. Just a little bit of cinnamon in there can help. You'd have to look at some more specific recipes and someone a bit more talented in canning and food preservation than me to get a full explanation of that one. Contains fiber, calcium, iron, manganese, as we've seen. Two that were not mentioned before. It's effective for menstrual pain and infertility. Now, I would not use this as some kind of pository for menstrual pain. This is because it is very hot. You would use it internally, but you would go the oral route. You could also stimulate the body's ability to adjust with it with a topical placement over the womb area. I won't say on that actual area down there itself, not on the vaginal area itself, but around that area, on the stomach portion, the abdominal portion, can be very helpful with that, and can help with infertility in males, especially. And that is because one of the benefits I did not see here on cinnamon is that cinnamon is very good for helping to balance the male hormones, which could be a situation for someone with menstrual pain. That may be one of the reasons they are having such pain, is they're having a imbalance of the male hormone versus the female hormones that are supposed to be there. And in the infertility on the males especially, they may not be getting the appropriate amounts. And this is not going to overdose the body on hormones. It doesn't do that. It only supports the body's natural ability to make hormones. So you're never going to come to a point you're not likely to come to a point using cinnamon where you say, oh, I can't use cinnamon. Yeah, I've overdosed on cinnamon and now I'm just like super roid ragey. It's not how it works. Your body just flushes it out like a food. If it's appropriate cinnamon, and you're not taking huge macro doses. Like pills of cinnamon are not necessarily a good idea. Consuming it as a food item is usually better, and usually gets the effect that you want without the necessary macro dosing. All right, everyone. Those are some of my remarks on cinnamon and some of the things that we have seen in the infographics. And hopefully you can kind of get an idea of cinnamon and that it does have a difference between cassia and cinnamon. Cassia and cinnamon have a lot of crossover. They're familially related in the genuses and the species separations and things like that, but they are not the same. So that's an important thing to understand. And I believe that's all we're going to have for today. So I appreciate everyone coming. If you have any questions, comments, or observations, you can go right over here to any of these: our phone, website, email, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. And as always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.